Hey guys, it's Denise Bruno. I'm back again. Can't get rid of me so easily. I just wanted to read a little excerpt from the book I talked about in my last video called Lavender Sky. It was published in 2018 and I'm just now starting to market it a little bit. I talked to you about the main characters, Ben and Delaney, and this is an excerpt from chapter 10. So let's just get started. By the way, I am just leaving work. I have a 2-hour commute. I'm going to have a cup of coffee before I go, but I'm off the clock, just so you know. Okay, here we go. As she pushed her cart around the corner of the last aisle, she was abruptly stopped as she ran into an oncoming shopper. After the cart completely stopped and she saw that nothing had spilled out, she looked up to see if she had hurt the poor soul. Ben was staring back at her. He had one hand gripped on the front of the cart, while the other one was holding a box of cereal, a loaf of bread, and a gallon of milk. He slowly released his hand from the cart and said, "Hey, Delaney, sorry about that." He seemed surprised to see her, and she was equally pleasantly surprised. She couldn't help but notice the massive size of his arms and his black tank top. His pectoral muscles were bulging toward her, and she decided she wouldn't mind touching them. He had on gym shorts that showed off his muscular legs. "I'm sorry, I thought I had dropped something and I turned around to look, but I should have stopped walking," he said. As he was talking, he motioned to replay what had happened. Delaney couldn't help but stare at him. She hadn't expected to see so much masculine skin in December. "So you look like you're going to bake," he said. Delaney was still staring at him. "You are baking today?" he asked again, eyeing a response from her. "Oh," she said, snapping out of her daze. "Yes, how did you know?" she replied. She felt nervous, almost jittery. He pointed to her grocery basket filled with baking items. She looked down at her cart and said, "Oh, right." Then she looked at his clothes again and asked, "Isn't it a bit chilly to be dressed like that? It is December, you know." He nodded and half smiled. "It's not snowing. And anyway, I just came from the gym. I'm not going straight home, and I might take a swim in the lake." She glared up at him, and then they both snickered. That's an inside joke, by the way. You have to read the beginning of the novel to know what they're talking about. It's really good. He looked at her card again and said, "Looks like you're having a party, maybe for Christmas?" Delaney smiled and replied, "No, just baking Christmas cookies by myself. It's one of my Christmas traditions. I used to do this every year with my parents, so it's something I do to make them feel closer." He smiled at her and nodded again. "That's a really nice thing to do." She looked at him with an inquiring eye and asked, "Are you going to see your parents for Christmas?" He responded no. He hesitated and then added, "They live in San Diego and I prefer a quiet Christmas here." She tilted her head to one side and raised one eyebrow and asked, "Alone?" He said, "I like it that way." Delaney exhaled a big sigh and said, "Well, if you change your mind and want company, you can come make Christmas cookies with me on Christmas Eve. I'll be alone too, and it would be fun to have a cookie co-conspirator." He smiled big this time, and she could see his dimples. His deep brown eyes appeared to twinkle, and he said, "Cookie co-conspirator, huh? I've never been one of those before." She smiled bigger at him and said, "Well, it will require that you actually decorate the cookies. You can't just be a bystander." At that, he chuckled and said, "All right, maybe I'll stop by, thanks." She wrinkled her nose and said, "I'll start baking around 5:30 if you decide to come over." She felt delirious as Ben walked away. Why did he have so much of an effect on her? She felt strangely connected to him and assumed it was because he had saved her life. But there was also the fact that she had spent the night at his house, but only by accident and out of necessity. Still, just the sight of him or being near him gave her comfort, like she had a soul connection with him. Her gleeful thoughts were short-lived, however, as she frowned. She had a new problem. She liked him a lot. She wondered if he might feel something for her, but what if he couldn't return her feelings? She assumed that friendship would be the best they could do, given his past pain. But she found herself wanting more. Was she falling in love? I don't know. Was she falling in love? You're gonna have to read it to find out. It's so good. You can buy this book on Amazon.com. You can get it at BarnesandNoble.com. I don't think you'll find it in the stores as of yet. Hopefully someday. There is also an audio book coming out, an audio version coming out soon. I'll let you know if you prefer to listen to audiobooks. I listen to those on my commute to work since I have a 2-hour commute generally. I don't work every day though. And then also there is another book called Heart Chimes that is a standalone novel, but it is kind of a continuation of this story with some of the same characters, but there's another story on top of this story. So if you wanted to continue the story of the Guntersville crew, read Heart Chimes next. It's already published and it's out on Amazon.com and at BarnesandNoble.com. And then I'm working on another novel, woohoo, a new book that is also going to be based in Guntersville, Alabama, and it's going to be a continuation of this story, but another standalone novel. So you guys, lots to look forward to. Have a great day and keep smiling, and I'll see you soon.